I was speaking to Ariel earlier today. We were doing Ariel and the Bad Guy. And he was sharing with me that he had just done an interview with Anthony Pettis. And he said, Chael, I've never seen Pettis like this. He said that Pettis has been working with a sports psychologist, working on the mental side of things. And he was very candid in sharing with Ariel some of what Pettis views as his own shortcomings, some of the fears and the anxieties he goes through, but he was even talking about alcohol, marijuana use, just some real life-changing decisions that he's made as of late. And I said to Ariel, I go, well, what do you mean? You said you've never seen him like this. Does that mean you've never heard him discuss these things, or he seemed like a different person? He goes, dude, he was a different person. And I go, what? But explain this to me. What? I haven't seen the interview. Explain. What do you mean? He said, okay. He goes, if I was to use a word, it would be maturity. He said there was just such a maturity coming out of Anthony Pettis. And he said that Pettis told him he's never been in a better spot mentally going into a fight. Now, Pettis is about to take on Alex. Alex is a total stud. He's also not a household name. Pettis was on the Wheaties box. Nominated for an ESPY with the Showtime kick. He's a former champion of the world. I mean, right, he's one of these guys you can't just get on the docket with. And I think one of the reasons that Alex is getting this opportunity, Pettis had shared this is his last fight on his contract. So it's one of those things, right? I mean, you see where the politics start to play in. Hey, if we're not going to have Pettis around, then he's going to pass the shine to somebody else. He's going to pass the torch. Or if he's going to redo his contract, he's going to have to show he can beat one of these up-and-comers, and he's still got a spot. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. But at the same time, I think if we're learning anything from Pettis taking on Alex, I think if we're learning anything in the last 45 days, if you were to look at Bellator and the UFC together, 100 athletes, top athletes, being released from contracts. I mean, I think if we're learning anything, it's that us, the fan, is going to need to cling to something else. There is a changing of the guard. The likes that the world of MMA as an industry has never seen. There has never been a time where 100 athletes are released within 60 days from the world's two leading promotions. Just has never happened. Simple as that. And we've always known that these younger guys, we've always known these up-and-comers are some real killers. They're just not always the names. It's just kind of the cycle that you go through. But we're now being forced, and they are being forced to prove that they, in fact, are good enough to go with the boys, of yesterday, to go with the guys that you're used to watching. I think that we're seeing that from Alex. I think that Pettis is going to have an opportunity to prove this. And the more as I keep looking at some of these fights, I mean, I feel like we're about to see it with Chito Vera taking on Jose Aldo. Jose has got to prove, man, I can still go with these guys. And Jose is willing and hungry enough and courageous enough to do that. Whereas in a different time, a Chito Vera couldn't even get on the docket with Jose Aldo because Jose would have stopped him. He would have stopped him and said, no, not big enough name. And we're seeing that right now in a small fold. We're seeing less of it now that these cuts are coming out. If there's ever a positive from all these cuts, we have to see less of these fake tough guys. But we were seeing it 7 and 8 weeks ago as it pertained to Chimaev. Everybody that was asked to Chimaev, no. Anyone who fought Chimaev and ended up getting stomped all got looked at or laughed at, which was wrong. They should have been praised. They should have been praised for having a courage that nobody else apparently has, including the guys within the top 10. I'm only bringing you the Chimaev story to accentuate my point that it's very tough to get on a docket with a former champion, with a headline guy, with a main eventer, with the guy on the cover of the Wheaties box. It's just a very hard thing to do, but we are in a very different time right now. And we're seeing the Kevin Hollands and the Jamal Hills of the world. And now Alex is going to have his shot, but we're seeing them jump into the forefront. And when one star burns out, another star is born. I mean, it's just the cycle of life, and we see it, the cycle of the life of your career within this industry. But I feel like we're seeing it sped up a little bit. It's exponentially fast right now. It largely is because of the cuts. I think many guys are largely starting to see, I'm going to have to fight for my spot. I have to fight for my opportunity. I'm going to have to fight for my placement. This is the way it used to be. I can tell you, back when there was 5 and then 6, and then even after the birth of the Ultimate Fighter, and they jumped to 12 events a year, and 12 events a year when the UFC did, oh my God, how are you going to do that? logistically, how are you even going to get that cage to 12 different locations? Now, they held 53 events this year. Oh, by the way, did you know there's a pandemic going on? I only bring that to you in perspective because when all of those opportunities started to open up, many of those guys that used to sign up for the very tough proposition of having to fight for your spot, fight for your position, fight for your job. It's the way it used to be. And there was a major time where guys got spoiled. And if they weren't around before, if they didn't see the other side of the tracks, they couldn't even appreciate it. And those guys aren't wrong. We're all guilty of that as human beings. We can't appreciate things that we don't know that happen. We take it for granted. That's okay. But now we're starting to see the other side. And I can feel it. I can see it as a fan, but I can feel it in my bones. I can feel where guys are starting to understand, man, this is serious business. There's only so many spots, so many opportunities, and so many guys. And we are going to go out and we're going to compete for it.